Hey YouTube, Wes here. So one thing we've learned about crypto over the past year, maybe two, is that crypto is not actually a hedge against the stock market and against the US dollar. Many people have always held that crypto is that way, but if you look at how the S&P 500 and crypto as a whole completely follow each other, we've seen with the Feds raising rates, we've seen with the war in Ukraine, we've seen with fall down of major crypto companies, specifically Terra and Luna, we have known that crypto is not in a great spot price-wise. But it's not dead. And while I actually think there's more evidence the crypto market is going to go even lower over the short term, and we haven't seen the bottoms yet, I wanted to talk about something really encouraging. I wanted to talk about why crypto is A, not dead, and B, why it holds significant, and I mean significant, future potential. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about a huge news item that dropped today that backs this up that you've got to know about because as an investor, it's got big potential for you. Don't go anywhere. We're going to cover this coming right up. All right, YouTube, Wes Spencer here. Thank you guys for joining me. Would you hit like and subscribe? We're going down this journey together, and I mean that together. When you hit the subscribe button, you're joining my community, and we're getting all the more closer to one of those creator awards on the wall, which is crazy to me to think that I might have a silver creator award coming in this year, but only if you'll hit like and subscribe. Would you do that for me? Okay, so let's jump in a little bit more into the news. We talked a little bit about how we've seen the stock market, especially what's happening with Fed raising rates and burning inflation. It's definitely caused a nosedive in the market. There's many other factors for it as well. Don't hear me as saying it's a single factor. But we've also seen crypto likewise follow the same nosedive. And so we're left wondering, is crypto completely dead? Are we at bottom lows? Is it ever going to recover to any level that it used to be? Is it even thriving anymore? Well, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you know that I love to talk about bear markets because bear markets are where innovation thrives. It is actually the genesis by which we see new and incredible innovations come out. See, in the top of bull markets, when everything is raging, you don't have as much incentivization to go create something just mind-blowing, something truly, from an innovative perspective, a game changer. You usually see a bunch of Me Too's. In the bear market, that's when we're forced to do something better. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some big news that's just happened. I want to share it out with you so you can kind of see what I see. So this came out today and was dropped today. Andreessen Horowitz has just announced that they've funded a $4.5 billion, with a B, billion-dollar crypto fund to take advantage of what's happening in this bear market. Now, that's a really, really big deal. And you might think, well, why do I care about that? Like, who the heck is Andreessen Horowitz? And $4.5 billion, that's not that much. I mean, Terra and Luna was like an $80 billion company that nosedived to nothing. So how is that worth anything? How does that make a difference? Well, while it's true that the value of certain crypto companies can be crazy inflated and great is their fall, like we saw with Terra and Luna, a $4.5 billion fund to invest in new companies is huge. It's massive. And so I want to talk about that. And I want to make sure you understand why that's so important. So right here is Andreessen Horowitz website, A16Z. They are one of the top shelf, most well-known VC firms in the world. They're out in Silicon Valley. When we say VC, we mean venture capital. I know a lot about venture capital because I know a lot of VCs. I've worked with them. I've talked with them. I've dealt with them. I came out of a company called Perch Security. I was a co-founder there. We sold it just a couple of years ago. If you look online, sources will say we sold it for about $80 billion, and we were funded by VCs. So I know how this world works of injecting capital into a company, and then you trade off by giving equity, and then hopefully the company does well, and they transact, or they sell, or they IPO, and through that, some big things happen. And Andreessen Horowitz is well known for this. If you look at their portfolio of companies, you're going to see companies on here that you know that are household names like DigitalOcean, Airbnb. There's some others. Here we go. Slack is on here. GitHub is on here. Instagram is on here. Look at that. Imgur. Like, there's so many different companies on here that I know that you know. Now, let's be fair. Like, A16Z makes mistakes. There are many companies they've invested in that never make it to their portfolio page simply because they failed. I know that. But the issue with a huge injection of capital is $4.5 billion worth is a big deal because that's their commitment to saying we see the future and where crypto is going and we want to ride that wave. So let's talk about that a little bit more. I want to jump back into that CNBC article because there's some treasure pieces, some treasure troves of data that you need to see out of this. So $4.5 billion fund announced today. Partners Ariana Simpson and Chris Dixon. I do know who Chris Dixon is much more. They talked about like they believe that crypto is the next major computing cycle. More on that in a minute. We'll jump into that specific article that they wrote. And then I agree with this. Bear markets are often when the opportunities come about. That's where innovation thrives, as we said. So there's some big things that occur in this that I wanted to talk about. So first of all, one of the things I thought was really interesting is Andreessen Horowitz loves to announce these funds in these crypto winters. Now, I'm not saying we're in a crypto winter. I don't think prices have gone as low as they're going to go. I think we have a bottom that's even deeper, not a lot deeper, but I do think we're going to see even more lows. And they did this way before. If you look back in June of 2018, a few years ago, one of the last times we had a huge market crash, they did the same thing. And here's the article on it. I'll put a link so you can go watch it or read it if you want to in my YouTube description so you can go see it. But I'm going to skip this article other than just to show this is what they do. This is who A16Z is. And they talked about how even back then they invested in companies like Coinbase that, obviously have been super successful. So going back to here, this current article, there's some really big things. I wanted to talk about how this is how they like to operate. They wait for these cycles where things aren't so well because now they can get in when valuations are lower, when the value of companies is lower because crypto as a whole is down. That's the time to get in. That's the time to invest. They don't want to invest when companies are like up at their top in terms of inflated bubble values, right? That's what they're trying to stay away from. So this is the good time to do it for them. Bear markets are often when the best opportunities come about. We're actually able to focus on building technology rather than getting distracted by short-term price activity, said Ariana Simpson. Totally agree with that statement. So they go back down. They go, how the market is dead. Or dying, right? It's gone so much lower because of all the news that we've talked about. And this right here, the technical diligence and other kinds of diligence that we do are a key part of making sure that projects meet our bar. While the pace of investment has been high, we continue to invest in only the top echelon of founders. That doesn't mean that they invest in somebody that's going to be successful. Like I said, yes, they've invested, as you see here, Lyft, Pinterest, Coinbase, Flowcarbon, Dapper, Avalanche, Alchemy, OpenSea, Solana, Yuga, like all these very popular crypto platforms and companies, all of which I know. But I promise you, they've invested in others that they're like, let's not tell anybody. Let's kind of keep that secret, right? So don't hear me of saying just like they're the magical, they have all like the magical tools to know. No, but they are very good at this. And so them pouring in a brand new fund, $4.5 billion, is a really big deal. Because they do know how to do diligence on these companies. Diligence means research to say, are they viable? And what I'm hearing from them, is it true? Are the numbers, do they stack up? What is the total addressable market size? What's the credibility of the founders? What's the vision of the company? All of these things go into diligence before they make an investment. And as you can see, while they're not perfect, they have a fantastic price or a traction record of investing into these kinds of companies. So let's go back to this a little bit more. And I wanted to share this with you right here. If you want to read more about the fund itself, you can go to a16zcrypto.com and see Chris Dixon's article. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but there's some interesting things that I think you can pick up on. Again, this was written today, so this is as fresh can get. So since the advent of computing in the 1940s, there's been a major computing cycle every 10 to 15 years. And that's true. You look at analog computers that came out of World War II as they were trying to solve the enigma and creating these big frames of computers into digital computers through the 50s and 60s. You see into the 1970s, we see in 80s, you see personal computers sort of like become smaller and more usable, and maybe typewriters go off the desk in trading of like an Apple IIe. You see the 90s where like the PC truly blows up and comes of age. You see into like the 2000s where the cloud comes about with Web 2. And I'm sure I'm skipping some things. I'm just going off memory, right? But they believe that crypto as a whole, and they're really kind of calling it Web 3, because I think people are starting to dislike the term crypto. Just my take on it is from what I'm feeling from others. And they want to call it Web 3, and they see this is the future. And I think it's true, right? I think there's a lot of opportunities here with all this. So you can read more about why they said they were doing this, but I wanted to cover a little bit more about what this $4.5 billion of a fund is going into. So look at this right here. We're going to use these funds to invest in promising Web3 startups. They're interested in Web3 games, DeFi, decentralized social media, self-sovereign identity. I love the idea of self-sovereign identity. I haven't talked about it much on this channel, but you guys know I'm a huge privacy advocate. So I love this idea of self-sovereign identity. Layer 1 and layer 2 cryptos, infrastructure, bridges, DAOs, governance, NFT communities, privacy, creator monetization, which I'm interested in that, of course, regenerative finance and new applications and zero knowledge proofs, on and on it goes. So in other words, what they're saying is this: we see the future. The future is Web 3. We're pouring billions of dollars into it because we're not going to miss on this one. We didn't miss with Web 2 and we didn't miss with companies before that in the older eras. We see this as the future era and we're going to ride that wave. We're going to invest in these companies. We're going to help them grow and we're going to get equity in it and we're going to make serious cash from it. Now, why does this matter? It matters for two reasons. The macro view is this: it proves that the whole crypto world is not dead. The next time, like, your dad comes to you, he's like, oh, crypto's dead now. Don't you finally believe me? Say, then Dad, why did Andreessen Horowitz just pour $4.5 billion into a fund dedicated for crypto? Now, there couldn't be a better time than now. So no, it's not dead. It's just a great time for investors. Second reason it matters is this: look at who they're buying. Or I shouldn't say buying, investing. Look at who they're investing in and get in on those too, the ones that you like. Do your own research, make sure it matches for you. Just because A16Z puts money into that company does not mean that it will be successful, but it's a good indicator that it just might be. And so these are the great times when the markets are low, when the bears come in. This is the best time to find innovative projects. This is the best time to get in at a floor that is valuable, that gives you the opportunity. So now is your chance to do it, and follow others like A16Z and be aware of what they're doing. Even if you don't invest in the companies they're investing in, be aware of the kinds of companies and where the innovation is going, because where so the money flows, so will the innovation be there as well. So there you have it. Huge news today. You needed to be aware of it. I hope this helps. Let me know what you think about it, and curious to know what you're going to do about it. All right, my friends, thank you so very much. Hey, don't forget, like and subscribe. Thanks.